wait for people to come in. My hair is losing its mind. I'm actually going to change my hair up. Hi, Messi, the best soccer player. You're always the first one in here, and I appreciate it. Are you on my OnlyFans, or are you just here? Hi! Palm Tree Killer. Palm Tree Killer, I always ask him what I should do with my hair, and then he never tells me. But you guys should tell me because I'm going on Thursday. I kind of just want to keep it the same, but I kind of want to do something new. Hey, Driz. Hey, Zach. Hi. Love these tits. Well, good segue. 8 p.m. Pacific, hour and a half from now, I'm going to be live on my OnlyFans where there's going to be a ton of titty action. You guys get to always see what I wear over there. It's not much today on the bottom, but that will be. Hey, Eva, I'm glad you're back. I'm actually really happy you're here because everybody in here, but women and I don't know if you're a sex worker. I don't know if I actually don't know. Or Star Womb, is she in here? I almost forgot it was Monday. Yeah, my week's all messed up because my trainer leaves town on Wednesday. So we had a session yesterday, which was Sunday. So I kept thinking that was Monday. Palm Tree Killer, I actually want your opinion too, because you have a lot of experience in this. She looks ugly today. I'm sorry. All right. So today I want to talk about, I don't know how to, like, kinks, fetishes, and morality or ethics. And I am by no means an expert on, like, that's why I didn't know really what to name this, like what the difference is between like a kink and a fetish. So I looked it up, and this is how Justin LeMiller, who is a PhD research fellow at the Kinsey Institute, he says a kink is any type of non-mainstream sexual interest. A fetish is a specific subtype of kink defined by a heightened fascination with a certain object, body part, or bodily fluid. In other words, fetishes tend to have a sensory component wherein people are drawn to feel, taste, smell, or look at a particular thing. All fetishes are kinks, but not all kinks are fetishes. I kind of get that, but you want to see my nails? Yeah. I've been doing the same thing for like 3 months. So that's the difference. Where do kinks and fetishes come from? Are they genetic? Are they brought on by some early childhood experience? And it seems to be kind of both. But then we have certain kinds of, I guess, sexual proclivities that do seem to have an innate prenatal origin. And so some people call that even like a sexual orientation. And we're going to get kind of controversial here because I was just reading up a lot about pedophilia, and that seems to fall into that category where a lot of people who research it say it is an orientation, that the brain, that there's different brain functioning in them that doesn't occur naturally through the course of life. So it's not something that they choose. Dr. Fred Berlin, director of Johns Hopkins Sex and Gender Clinic, people don't choose what arouses them, they discover it. No one grows up wanting to be a pedophile. What percentage of the population are? It's really hard to tell. I'm seeing 5% or less is what I've seen online. But personally, I mean, growing up, I was always, controversial. I feel so, this is going to get, if I ever get famous, this is going to be clipped and it's going to be like, this is agreeing with pedophilia. Like, that's not what I'm doing. I agree. Also you think it's a product of environment, or do you, Palm Tree Killer, or do you think it's, I mean, obviously it's a mix, but with pedophilia in particular, being attracted to, the way he explained it, I watched a video, the way the doctor explained it is like, same thing with feet. You know how feet fetishes are like, I don't want to say your wires are crossed, but it has to do with the way the brain is wired. They're finding it's the same thing with pedophiles, that instead of feeling like the nurturing or whatever aspects when you see somebody significantly younger than you, they feel it's literally like a wire crossing. Your wires are crossed is like literally how he explained it. And I mean, growing up, obviously I was just like, ew, pedophiles are gross, they should all die. And I mean, generally, we're all talking about when they act on those desires and harm a person who, if they're attracted to people under the age of consent, then they are harming somebody who cannot consent. That is wrong. I want to put that out there. I obviously um, don't condone that. However, I think there's a conversation to be had where we have to separate the desire and behavior, right? Because can you really control your desires? Can you really control any of your kinks or fetishes? Like, you think about what you're into. Did you choose it, or are you just into it? And I think there's like, they're called unoffending pedophiles, or I remember when I was in law school, I came across like a website, Virtuous Pedophiles, where it's like a support group where they kind of talk about their desires and proclivities, but also their desire not to act on those. So it's love that yeah, we could go into the rabbit hole. And today is gonna be heavily discussion based. Also next week I'm gonna have a friend on here, so everyone knows. But today's gonna be heavily discussion based because there's no there's no right answer, right? I mean, there are right answers to some of these questions, but it's kind of, when we're talking about ethics and morals and sex work and all that, I want to hear people's opinions, people's experiences. This isn't like an educational like PowerPoint we're doing here. I say you can't choose your thoughts, but you can choose if you act in them. So yeah, you might want to go to my how long ago did I do the free will one? But we're gonna put free will aside for now. But you can't choose your thoughts. So people who are born with these proclivities, the ones that are truly harmful like that, how should they be treated by society? And this is a really difficult question because obviously, we have to put the interests of vulnerable populations in society, children, above their interests, I think, in every circumstance. So even me, and I think I'm pretty sympathetic to this group compared to most of the population. I wouldn't want them around my kids. I don't want them at the park where my kids play, and that's normal and that's natural. And I don't think that people should ever be shamed for feeling that way. But to say that these people are just sick, twisted freaks, it's for something that they can't control, at least the thoughts, I don't think that helps. And so, and a lot of them, they feel like they can't talk to anybody about this because if you tell anybody that you have these feelings, you are automatically demonized by society. You are automatically ostracized. And in fact, like, people, it can be really dangerous for you to even talk about this. What's the topic right now? We're talking about pedophilia and kinks and fetishes and where they come from and the morality of it all. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. And, and even we're not just talking about pedophilia, because I also want to bring in other topics. Obviously, I'm a sex worker. I've been on OnlyFans over 2 years now, and I've seen all kinds of kinks. I've seen all kinds of fetishes. And in general, I think, at least most of us, I think in this space, we're not like kinks that don't lead to any harm, even if enacted in person, like foot fetishes, very common. No, I mean, people may shame foot fetishes as weird, but that's not what we're talking about here. Most of us, if you're into feet and you want to lick feet, even in your real sex life, go for it. We see it as pretty innocent, but then people can have other fetishes that, can give us pause, can incite a feeling of disgust, even moral disgust, like incest, for instance. Very common fetish, and one that most of us, if we're thinking about incest happening in real life, we're like, ew, that's fucking disgusting, right? And we have this disgust in us. Disgust is a moral emotion, maybe a bad machine for producing moral wisdom. And so I try to look past that. And, it's always funny because we have to be consistent on this stuff. So when someone says, what good reason do we have if we're talking about, hey, you can have two consenting adults can have sex, And, you know, the right goes, well, what about incest? And we're like, oh my God, absolutely not. And they're like, okay, well, what about if we took out the power, like, you know, like a mother, son, or father, like obviously the power balance, and they weren't reproducing. And it was one night, like, you know, once you start playing with those hypotheticals and people still, like, you know, you're like, what is wrong with it? And you can't really say anything other than it feels gross. And once you get rid of the, oh, well, if they have a child, the child is more likely to blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, what if they didn't have a child? Okay, well, you know, if, you know, there was no power difference, their unequal balance of power in the relationship. And if you can't really rely on anything other than your moral intuition, I think that's something to think about. It's like, I'm not gonna lie, it grosses me the fuck out, but that's not a reason to, I think, condemn something. Obviously, people have a lot of fetishes that tap into, I guess, culturally taboo, like race play. I am I missing? Okay, I'm caught up with comments. Race play is one that I see a lot. You know, people liking the BBC and to be cucked and all of that. And I used to, when I first started, and Starboom's not in here, but Starboom made a great point that a lot of times, and I'm not putting myself in this category because this was never the case for me, where the question was, are sex workers responsible for, like, if someone says, hey, I want to do race play, I want you to, and it matters, right? Because I've had people, I've had clients, not clients, fans, subscribers, I don't like to call them fans, that were like, that were Black, that were like, can you do a dirty talking session, and can you talk about how superior that is? Like, BBC. And I was like so comfortable with it. But then, you know, then you get the flip side where somebody who's white is like, I want you to do that. And then you don't feel comfortable with it, you know, or, you know, fetishizing races, racial stereotypes in sex and porn. And in the beginning, I used to, like, my first video that like kind of went viral was Princess Jasmine with the BBC dildo cheating on Aladdin. And it was actually a few subscribers that were like, oh, this is, you know, this can be offensive to some groups of people. And I never also did anything, like I never did hijab, anything, or really anything with religion, not because I think religion should be respected, but just because I didn't want to use something that was culturally or even religiously sacred to someone and just, you know, I can't even say for sure that you shouldn't be able to do that. Like, I don't know if it's actually wrong, you know, what Mia Khalifa did. Did she get a lot of backlash for it? Yeah. But I don't think backlash is a good measure of morality. Watching Mindhunter on Netflix, and it's really interesting how the more we stigmatize deviant behavior, the less we actually understand deviant behavior. Thus, we just assume these kinds of people are less than human. Yeah. So deviant behavior is obviously a part of our society, a part of our culture. And you know, I think in Mindhunter, it is actually deviant behavior. A lot of this stuff, it's like, well, you know, is race play wrong? A lot of people have fetishes that involve BDSM, being really dominant, dominating somebody else, slave play. People even have like rape fantasies, both men and women. And is that different? Is it different if a woman has rape fantasies of being raped? Because a lot of us think, okay, well, that's not dangerous because, like, you know, who's that harming? But if a man has the fantasy of raping, is that worse? Because neither of them really chose it. And just having the fantasies. And then a lot of times, one of the best ways to actually enact these fantasies without harming anyone is by getting a sex worker and being like, hey, do you consent to X? Do you consent to, I'm turned on by this? It's two consenting adults. They're very nice. They're very respectful. And I have noticed that a lot of the people who have these kind of, I guess, fetishes or kinks that kind of deviate from the norm, they usually go about it, at least the ones that reach out to sex workers on OnlyFans, usually go about it in as respectful of a way as you can, you know? So, I mean, age play, that's another one. If you're into that, is it wrong for you to solicit a sex worker who is over 18 and have them behave like they're under 18? Here's another example that me and other OnlyFans girls have faced, where you have a subscriber ask you for pictures of yourself, which this isn't allowed on OnlyFans. So if you're listening and you do OnlyFans, don't do it. I am not comfortable with this, but let's pretend that we're talking about a sex worker that is, where somebody will ask you for pictures of yourself under 18. But they're asking you, so they're asking me at 28, they're like, hey, do you have any pictures of you from when you were under 18? If I sent those pictures, am I in the wrong? I think you could argue maybe they're in the wrong for asking. I mean, maybe even that they're not. Are you in the wrong for sending pictures of yourself when you were underage? I have a very like consequentialist approach to a lot of these, where it's like, if there's any evidence that comes out that, or if there's, I guess, substantial evidence that comes out that these kinds of things make somebody more like if you do age play with consenting adults, or you have a consenting adult sex worker choose to send you pictures of herself underage, what does that lead to? Is that cathartic? Is that a safe way for you to actually act out your fantasies without actually having any harm done? Or could it make it more likely that you will? From what I've read, so when we think about child porn, okay, these are all like the buzzwords that I say, and I'm like, oh, this is good. Hey, Kimia! Oh my gosh, we're talking about some shit today. I don't know if you have been in this long enough to have had these experiences. But from what I read, it seems like a lot of people that are caught with child porn images, there's been a few studies, and there was one study that had a convenience bias because they were using a sample size out of prison, versus just people that were caught with it. But a lot of them have already engaged in some offending behavior, not all of them. And so it's not that the pictures make them more likely to, or that looking it up online makes them more likely to. Now, obviously, I think looking it up online with real children, I think that's wrong, because obviously there is harm. There is a child that's been harmed. But now we have AI generated. I'm just going to say CP. I just feel like I'm going to get banned or some shit. And now that's a little interesting. What do we think about AI generated? Moderator Eli says, I don't think sending anything under 18 is a good idea. One thing if you were showing a physical picture to someone, but sending something that can easily be retained and sent to others seems wrong. Yeah, I agree. But do you think it's morally wrong for the person who does it, where the only harm? Well, that's the question. Is the only harm to themselves, to them past selves, to their current selves? Is it wrong because, like you said, it could be shared and now other people are looking at this person as a child, even though they consented it in this one setting? What if I wanted to start a website and post underage pictures of myself you're not allowed to do that. That's actually against the law. But if I wanted to do that and it wasn't against the law, is it morally wrong for someone to do that to themselves? Is it morally wrong for sex workers to ever submit to or go along with any of these kinks or fetishes if they are consenting to it, and if there's no one being harmed other than them potentially, right? If you agree to, if you're a prostitute and someone's like, I have a rape fetish, and you agree to pretending you're being raped or are you in the wrong? Are you in the wrong for engaging in race play? Are you in wrong? And for, and I think there could be different answers to all of these. Are you wrong for engaging in incest? The incest one to me is not. So I actually would do, and I have done. I hardly ever do customs anymore because I'm so busy. But back when I used to do customs, I had no problem doing incest ones. I didn't do race play. I didn't do age play. Not only because it's not allowed on OnlyFans, but just because I would feel really weird doing it. But I don't knock any sex worker that does. Like Starwoo mentioned in our Discord, some sex workers don't have the ability to say no. If you're trying to survive, I don't think like it's your responsibility to be like, oh, but other people could think differently. Let's see. Oh, you guys are just saying hi to each other. I don't give a pass to age kink when it comes to younger versions of yourself, i.e. minors. It airs on pedophilia to me. So do you think sending it is wrong? It perpetuates that it's okay. So that's the other thing. So what about AI generated child porn? I feel like I have a very consequentialist approach to it in the sense of like, if it started to become a thing and if we saw that it was normalizing it and creating harm to real children, then I think it should be banned. However, if that's not the case, if it wasn't, because from the research I saw, there isn't anything that indicates that if more it like that seeing those images are making you more likely to act out. So if somebody is like, hey, I have these urges, I know it's wrong, I don't want to act them out on a person, but now we have AI generated images, I know it's AI, I know there's not a real child involved, I know no real child is being harmed, I want to view it. Is that okay? What if we found out that it actually decreased instances of, which I'm not saying there's no evidence for this, but I'm saying, does that change things? These are not easy questions and there's not one right. I mean, you may think there's one right answer, but I think there's nuance here. And I think good people can come to different conclusions. Um, as we've seen there's some evidence that watching violent porn actually decreases violence. We do have some evidence for that. Um, that it does have a cathartic effect. I mean, a lot of people, that's one of the main critiques of porn in before we've done these studies was, oh my God, if people watch violent porn or violence against women in porn, then they're more likely to act violent towards women. That didn't end up being true. In fact, sometimes we saw the opposite effect. We either saw no effect or we saw the opposite effect, depending on the study. So the only time that was not the case was when the sample size was again taken out of a prison where people were already in trouble for this, then that particular population, so a lot of people that use like, oh, well, Ted Bundy said that, well, yeah, because you're looking at Ted Bundy. The majority of people who have these proclivities are not acting them out like Ted Bundy. Maybe it's not the person that we should be looking at, because that is a very unique case, and maybe for more people it has and I don't know about any of this, and especially the AI stuff is fairly new. Let's see. Moderator says, I don't think suppression of anything is a good solution. Giving a safe outlet sounds like a good mitigation tactic. I don't know, guys. I guess I would say that sex workers still have ethics to follow when it's in their power and capacity to do so. That's true. And so do you think sex workers that can decline requests that still choose to engage in age play, are they doing something wrong? Where do you draw the line? Do you think that putting on a hijab, like if I were to do that, would I be in the wrong? Again, I choose not to. Was Mia Khalifa in the wrong for that? Am I in the wrong if I engage in race play? Is it okay if it depends on the rate? What if someone has a fetish for control and power and BDSM or sex slave? I get a lot of those, like, hey, and my submissive videos where I do like the submissive talk, I don't do anything where it's like, I'm your slave, but like that kind of stuff that sells really well. I think that's a very normal thing to get turned on by. And then for some people it goes farther. Some people really want all the power and they want the sex slave kind of thing. Should sex workers not engage in that? Where do we draw the line, right? And how do we draw the line? Do we draw the line based on, I feel like for me, the actual harm done to members of society. So I take a very consequentialist approach to this all. So obviously, if it's really happening or there's a real person, then there's clearly harm, right? When we get into consenting adult, helping you act out a fetish that you did not choose. So I guess the top layer is having the fetish. Is having any kind of fetish wrong? I don't think you can be wrong for thinking things or being attracted to things that you didn't choose. So you're not wrong for just having the desires. And unfortunately, society doesn't see it that way, and I don't think that is helping anything, but I also don't think that's gonna change. We have such strong moral intuitions, moral disgust is such a strong moral emotion that it'll override actual logic and thinking. Um, and so I don't think that's gonna change anytime soon. It's like trying to change religion, it's not going to. And a lot of times that moral disgust we have, like over things like incest, are there for a reason, if like an evolutionary reason. Um, and but I think we shouldn't just rely on our moral intuitions. We have to also be able to explain them and um, moral, I guess those moral intuitions must withstand rational thinking, rational thought. So, I mean, there's so many ways you can go with this. What's okay, what's not okay. You know, what, you know, what should we judge people for thinking? And I think for that, I don't think we should judge anyone. Okay, now let's go to the next step of behavior. Okay, now if they have this fetish and they want to act it out by watching AI generated something, is that okay? If they want to act it out by soliciting a sex worker who is an adult and who is consenting, they get their consent, they let them know everything's safe, there's, nothing. Is that okay? Because the actual thing they're acting out is wrong. And so it's never okay. I don't know, guys. Um, There is something to okay, let me make sure I just didn't miss anything. Oh, I guess while the research may not reflect it much, I can't help but imagine they will want to capture the experience of minors when they're minors. What do you mean? This was how long ago? I don't remember what I said. Oof, that's a really good question. If something is viewed as unethical, but it shows to lower the real world effect, is it good or bad? Yeah. So for me, when I think of things like AI generated child porn, the only thing I think about, whether I'm thinking about is if it's bad or not. Cause I'm like, okay, on its own, there's no child being harmed. But does it normalize it? Does it lead to people thinking it's okay? Can we really practically distinguish what's real and what's not? Um, is it going to lead to more harm towards real children? If the answer to any of those is yes, then I don't think it's okay. If it does nothing, if it doesn't change anything, then I guess there's no additional harm. And there's no harm in it on its own if it's not, to me, there's no harm in it on its own if it's not leading to harm. And if it does actually lead to a decrease in harm, then it's a good thing. Guys, watch. In 15 years, I'm going to get canceled. Like Jasmine Jafar said, child porn is a good thing. I guess, let's see. There is something interesting to be said here. Marrying under the age of 18 was the norm, whereas now it is unthinkable. A lot of things become seen as obscene as society evolves. Yeah. And I think there's good reason for that because we are more, I think, older and more civilized as a society now. And we are like, maybe we shouldn't be marrying people off at 14 when their brain is so severely underdeveloped. There may be a time way down the line where we even think, oh my God, I can't believe we let your brain isn't developed till 25. I even think like you should not be able to like adopt a child at 18 or join the I don't think you should be able to join the military at 18. Um, Especially when you can't even drink. So but at the same time, the way our laws work and the way they kind of have to work is they have to have an arbitrary cutoff date. We don't have the ability to put everyone's brain into a scanner and determine, okay, well, your brain seemed to be developed enough to make this decision, but yours didn't. So we have to pick an age because no, it doesn't make sense that at 17 years and 11 months, you can't make any decisions about your life. And then 1 month later, all of a sudden your brain is and your maturity level is at the point where you can make all these decisions. No, but there's no other way to really do it. Hi, just joined in. Hi. Oh, we got a chicken here. I love a new chick. I love all the chicks. I'm a girl's girl. Okay. AI generated is problematic if it's sourcing illegal/illicit content. Well, yeah. But what if it's not? Here's my take. If they engage in age play with a consenting adult, I think it's like a legal form of an otherwise illegal activity, but that may embolden some people. Yeah, that's what it is for me, but I would want to know if it does or doesn't. I don't want to just, yeah, if it emboldens people, then we should restrict it. If it doesn't, but see, a lot of people think even if it doesn't, you shouldn't be, I would look to join the convo, but I'm going to figure out where we're all at first. Okay, we're talking about some shit. Yeah, for sure. Society isn't on that level. Nope. Let's talk about kinks. Palm Tree Killer has some kinks. I think that AI is probably the least bad. Well, yeah, I think it's definitely the least bad way to consume. If there is any less bad way to consume CP, that is probably it. But I don't know. Also, when we're even talking about behavior, like again, these pedophiles, they didn't choose to be that way. How many of us saw the show Dateline to Catch a Predator growing up? I might even still be on. What's his name? Chris, the host, would come in. Growing up and I'm seeing that, I was like, oh my God, these people are so bad. Take them down, take them down. Is it okay if someone has like a fetish like that to put them in a situation like dangle it in front of them and then like, you know what I mean? Like, are they catching people who actually would have acted on this, or are they catching people who they entrapped, who they put them in a situation they would have never otherwise been in? And I think the answer to that is depends. Some of them probably have and would, and some of them probably wouldn't. And then like 18 people come tackle you when you're leaving the house. Current AI has to have a degree of real source material. It can't actually generate novel content as far as I know. I read that too, but the article I was reading was saying if down. So yes, that's true for today. This isn't really a topic for today because I don't think this is happening much today because of the reason you're saying, and it's still, it is illegal. But down the line, because we're seeing that AI is improving significantly. Yeah, like if down the line it was doing that, then could you apply sunk cost fallacy for modern day? For what? Okay, let me see what we got here. I draw the line at harming actual children or adults. Animated content like is it hentai? Is that how you say it? Doesn't hurt anyone. Distributing/providing actual legal content may not hurt the sex worker, but could create an environment that's permissive towards content that's harmful to minors. Yeah, so I think even seeking out content that depicts real minors is not okay because you are contributing to a demand for something that's causing harm to a real person. But again, in this hypothetical, let's say we are farther down the line in our AI trajectory and it's not there. You know what I mean? It's so hard to draw a line. Like it's already out there and not doing direct harm by using C. Yeah. I wonder if that would be a scenario. Oh, sorry, your comments on the screen. So when I said the sunk cost fallacy, moderator says like it's already out there, not doing direct harm by using CP to make AI for mitigation purposes. So yeah, in that situation, it would be something because, like I said, I'm looking at the consequences here. I'm taking a consequentialist approach. So for me, that would make it okay. And actually, if it was decreasing real harm to real people, then it would make it a good thing. It wouldn't no longer even it's either good, bad, or morally neutral depending on the consequences for me when it comes to AI generated porn. Now some people think the principle is wrong in itself and no one should look at it ever. I don't even think that there is I don't think and then there's obviously the practical question. We can't eradicate this, obviously. It's going to happen anyway. Do you think there's a legit way to track if it harms or not harms? Yeah, through like for instance, if AI generated porn became more of a thing, and then we were to track, okay, how much has pedophilia gone down? Have sex crimes towards children gone up? Or those are ways that we can at least begin to see. And then obviously, if we can do more um, like different kinds of studies, not just correlation or it's really hard to I don't know what kind of study that you could do like a control group and all of that, but we can, if people are going to argue, for instance, oh my gosh, AI generated porn, people used to say, oh my God, the proliferation of porn leads to an increase in the violence against women, and then we see that it didn't happen as porn became more popular. So if we see that AI generated child porn becomes more popular, we can obviously assess how is that increasing harm to children, in the sense of, have there been more instances of these people offending? And then we can even look at people who have been caught, or look at the offenders and see how did they consume this kind of content. Maybe it's the case that those that actually do the harm are seeking out the real CP, and those that are the unoffending ones are, or the ethical virtuous pedophiles, are seeking the AI ones. I don't know. We don't know, because this is so new, and it's not even become a thing yet, really. Um, I feel like the average AI is going to really bring a lot of ethical or moral questions into play very soon. It's always crazy how they're going to be so far behind by the time it's too late. Yeah, so obviously we have even the deep fake stuff. So deep fakes, I think it's a clear-cut case. It's not okay to use someone's likeness to create explicit content of them. So if you want to do it to me, I don't care. But there was the Twitch stream. Was it QT Cinderella? I don't know who the fuck she is or what she does. But I remember they made AI deep fake porn of her, and she's really upset about it. And I think that's totally fair. If you don't choose to put yourself out there like that, then people shouldn't be able to use your likeness to create that. King of the Hunt, I think there's no way, because if it's a secret shame where they otherwise know it can potentially send them to jail, they wouldn't leave a proper trail of what they've done. Oh, you're saying with, well, the only way, you're right. The only way we could really know is when people get caught. But nowadays, especially with the increased surveillance that we're all facing, a lot of times people do. And, even if you get caught with one picture of that, you are now a registered sex offender. So they are pretty harsh with that. They do not care. When we were which I think this is totally fair. When I took First Amendment, they do not play around with your First Amendment right to depict children and whatever. Even adults that are, well, actually, there was a case where adults pretending to, or playing children in certain contexts was okay, but any type of shit with real children is, you don't have, and obviously. I do think that if both parties consent to whatever, then it's okay, but don't put your experiences and such onto others, period. And then there's the question of, okay, consent. What can you consent to? Is it really consent if the sex worker can't refuse because they're fucking trying, like, not me, but like if, you're picking up a fentanyl addicted prostitute on Skid Row and you're like, you're pretty much, what, and I want you to do X. Is that okay? Can that person really say no? I mean, we even have cases. I was fascinated by this case where, I don't forgot what European country it was, but somebody had a cannibal fetish, and then I forgot the name of the fetish, where you like to be eaten. That's a certain kind of fetish. And they signed a contract and they both consented to person A killing person B and then eating him. And then the question became, is that still murder? I don't remember what happened to it, actually. Can you consent to being eaten? Can you consent to people that are into necrophilia? Can you consent to being killed and someone having sex with your dead body? Can you consent to that? there was a popular Reddit story that went viral where somebody's leg got amputated and they all ate it, or cannibalists, people who had that fetish. I don't know if they bought the leg or whatever and they ate it. Like, we're getting into some shit here, but is that okay? In order to know if it emboldens people, real children would have to be put out at risk to test the theory, which makes it not worth it, in my opinion. That's a really good point. Do we just say no AI generated child porn because it could have this effect? But what if it had the opposite effect? What if the fact that AI generated child porn being available made some of the people who are watching the real shit be like, well, let me try to get off this way. Right? I mean, you can even look at it with AI generated porn. Some people are still going to want, but some people are like, I mean, we have AI girlfriends that are going viral for people buying it. So there could be people who are like, well, if I can get off with the AI generated version, maybe I won't go. Maybe it leads to a decrease in real. Like, is that worth testing? Oh, he made his leg into tacos for his friends. Oh, his friends ate it? Oh, I just assumed it would be people that were. It's an interesting friend group you got there. Not a topic I was expecting. I don't know. I like to really test the edges of moral topics. Always stunning. Thank you. Chris Hansen, hey, have a seat here. Yeah, that to me, watching it now, I'm like, this is like, I am sure that at least one person on there was like, I have this fetish, but it's never. And then somebody like dangles it in your face and is like, hi. It's like, what, 13? Like, do you ever remember those episodes where like 12, 13-year-olds were like approaching? It's one thing when a pedophile like in his 50s reaches out to like young girls and like grooms them. But the way they did it on To Catch a Predator sometimes was like, they would be in like a chat room and the 13-year-old would like message like at all these guys, and then whichever ones responded is they're like, oh, okay, we're gonna go. And they would behave in ways that were so outside of the norm that these guys were like, this is really weird, and they were hesitant, but they're like, it's an opportunity that probably would have never gone their way, and then they're just humiliated on camera and tackled by like, the tackling was like out of line. Like, this is like a fucking 55-year-old like plumber leaving a house that's like 50 pounds overweight. Like, you don't need 3 officers. Be like, hands on the ground. I know it's a show, but I just got like, even if I think those people should be arrested, I don't know if it should be a spectacle where we all watch it at home and like cheer. I don't know. I'm uncomfortable with it today with what I know now with my adult brain. I'm Chris Hansen with Alien and BZ. Yes, Chris was his name. Although when I'm bored, not recently, but I think it was sometime during the pandemic, I was bored. I just binge watch a lot of those on YouTube. They're very entertaining. But I don't know if it's right. Yes, they're catching people who would engage. And is that what you think? I think if people wouldn't engage and we're just getting off to it, they would keep it online. The mens rea is there, but at least, well, would these people ever, okay, if you're an old, unattractive, fat guy and you want, X experience, like let's say you want to have sex with 20 women at the same time, you want to have an orgy, that's probably never going to happen for you. Even especially if you're not going to go seek it out, it's definitely never going to happen for you. So I think for some of these guys, the reason a lot of people said this was like entrapment is they were like literally almost guiding them into this behavior that without that guidance, maybe they would have never participated in. I don't think that's true for all of them. In fact, I think some of them might have been in trouble before, but for a lot of them, it was their first time ever getting in trouble for something like this, which doesn't prove that they didn't do it before. But I think some of them were really just like, is this girl really talking to me like this? Like, could this really be happening? Like, oh my God. And a lot of them, maybe I'm just being an asshole now. A lot of them don't even seem like they were fully cognitively there. Like, they seem like they had overlapping disabilities, cognitive disabilities. And then you're like, you know what I mean? Like, they didn't seem like they were the smartest and the bright. And now maybe not all of them, but there were some that were just really like socially and cognitively impaired, and then you're putting this in front of their face, a situation they'd probably never likely be in real life, and you're egging it on and you're egging it on, and then they show up and now they're on camera and you're tackling them so everyone, like all the audiences, can cheer. Something about it just rubs me the wrong way, but I'm so open to other opinions on this. Hello, do you need any mods? Not at the moment, but perhaps in the future. QT Cinderella is a badass streamer. Okay, see, I don't know what she does. All I know is I saw her reaction to being used in deep fake porn, and I 100% felt like she deserved to be outraged. CP is my hard line. I can't give any pass to it whatsoever. Anything that harms children, any capacity is no go. Oh, I agree. But some of this stuff, the line is blurred on if it actually harms. Like, would soliciting a 35-year-old sex worker to dress up in pigtails and a short skirt and pretend they're a schoolgirl, is that not okay? Army Hammer was in. I don't know. I don't have the names of cannibalists like off the top of my head. Jeffrey Dahmer might be the only one. It's a slippery slope to crusade against anything society deems morally repulsive. The pearl clutchers will push to ban everything, even talking about topics like this. The overly empathetic might ignore concerns for victims at the sake of being understanding. Yeah. I think this kind of stuff is almost impossible to talk about online because it rightfully incites such strong emotions, and a lot of that is intuition, and not with the child stuff, but with, I'm thinking like incest. I think that one is one that's driven by our moral intuition more than rational thinking. I mean, you can argue it's rational to understand why we have the disgust. There's a good reason, because what happens when people like that procreate. But if we're to eliminate procreation and you ask people, there's a study that they did where they were like, they're like, okay, what do you think about two brothers having sex? And everyone's like, ew, and they're like, no, that's so wrong. And then it's like, okay, well, why? And then it's like, it's hard to explain, right? And some people are like, well, there's obviously some, you can argue, yeah, there's probably something wrong with them because that's so, it's not the, like, we're not generally evolved to do things like that. It goes again, it's like one of the biggest social taboos. So if you're doing something that's so incredibly taboo like that, that maybe indicate that something might be going on. I think we also we've been evolved to not find our siblings sexually attractive. So maybe something isn't going completely right psychologically there. You can argue all those things, but morals are different. Ethics and morals are different than what's just weird or, you know. I don't think there is consent there because you can't consent to something that is illegal, even if you have paperwork saying so. There is something, I forgot the name of it, but it was talking about no matter what you agree to, if it's illegal, it voids the contract. So I think you're talking about contract can be void or voidable. I don't know. Something I learned in contracts. I know what you're talking about, where there are contracts that can be void, but then something illegal in a contract is automatically void, whereas there are other contexts in which it could be void, and with anything illegal, it's automatically void. So I agree legally, that could constitute murder, but do you think it's morally wrong? Like, if you want to die, it's what you want. But then, the argument is, well, something must be wrong with you, and you need help. You need psychological help. And so it's not okay. We can't support or we can't even accept you consenting to something like this, because if you're consenting to something like this, it indicates you are in no position to be able to consent to something like this. That, I guess, would be the argument there. At least one of them. I just want to be held. I'm sorry. I think people were at home cheering for it. It was also because of how new the internet was, and this was the threat of the internet that people didn't anticipate. I mean, it's still a threat of the internet. I think nowadays people do anticipate it, and they should, and you should be careful. I do think obviously certain groups just get blamed for, like, that, just because of they are certain groups. Like, we're seeing a lot of gay people and trans people right now, drag queens getting the whole groomer title for no fucking reason. But you know, tons of predator catching YouTube channels, and many times the people running them are just as bad as the people they catch. It's like a way to make themselves feel better about themselves and make money too. I never get those channels how so many people watch basically the same thing over and over again. I feel like it's something you could definitely get into for one night, but I would never. It's not something that ever's like, I watch them one night, I'm like, oh, this is interesting, and the next day I'm like, back to that. That's just me though. And yet no one says anything about how like every Disney princess was underage. Well, they don't depict them as underage on like the screen. Like you're never like, oh, Princess Jasmine's like 14. Like, you don't, we all assume they're old enough and able to fall in love and get married. I think all is 120 or one is the chance. Wait, I think all is 120 or one is one chance. I don't know what that means. My only rebuttal to that is that some people went to great lengths, driving hours at a time to arrive at any point they could have turned around and went home. That's true. I agree with that. I don't know. The show just, I get it. It's entertaining. I don't think some of these people, it's like, especially with my views on things, because y'all know that I have a very, like, I think about morals a lot of the times. I take a consequentialist approach to a lot of things, but I don't necessarily blame the perpetrators, because I don't think that they could act differently. And I know this gets really deep philosophical free will stuff, but because that's my take, I don't think it's ethical to take those people and make a spectacle of them and mock them, unless it serves, I guess, if someone could show me, hey, To Catch a Predator has deterred a bunch of people that would have harmed children, then sure. Yeah, unfortunately. But I still feel bad for those people that, have like definitely an IQ, some of them that is not even begin to be at the average, and they put them in these situations and then they tackle them. I mean, at this rate, you're talking about Britney Spears' early career, but I see your point. I don't know, I've just been talking. I don't even remember what my point was. To my rebuttal, while there may be some cognitive social deficits, my fear is it could escalate to violent SA, as some modern incels engage in, or violence in its totality. I know I'm speaking in hypotheticals or what ifs, but they're very likely to happen. Well, obviously, any action or behavior that results in harm we know. Okay, here's the thing I think we know. Thoughts alone, not immoral. Actions that harm, clearly immoral. But it's the stuff in between that we're kind of going through. And I agree, if there are behaviors that may be in the gray zone that lead to more harm, then we shouldn't do them. If there are behaviors in the gray zone, like perhaps child-generated AI, getting a cathartic effect from watching violent porn, then that clearly, or engaging in consensual BDSM resulting in less whatever, then that I think is good. But it's the stuff that we don't know. Are there things that no matter what, does anyone here believe that the consequentialist approach isn't the right approach to take here? Because I think you can make an argument for that too. Dr. Kevorkian was out here being humane despite the law. Who's that? Who is this? Hold on. I'm gonna look this up. Kavor. Oh, yes. Okay, I know who this is now. See, grew up in Oregon, and we were one of the first places to. So a lot of stuff that's like weed legalization. I think we got legalized weed when I was like in high school. Like it's just not even a thing on my radar. And then I go to other states, or even the state I moved to now, and it's legal, but it's been so new that I'm like, what? So, assisted suicide, death with dignity is also something that we had in Oregon a long time ago. For the fun of playing devil's advocate, then isn't that what a DNR is? You are consenting to die if that's the case, and that's legal, I guess. My grandmother was 104 when she passed, and she signed a DNR, and the family freaked out, and legally they couldn't do anything to help her. I guess the argument there would be like, you're already down bad. I don't know. By the time the DNR would be in question. Uh, but yeah, I mean, we could even get into the euthanasia assisted suicide argument. I'm very interested in this. And my views have changed already multiple times on, because I've always been the type of person that, like, you know, even when I was young, I was like, wait, I hate that the government, like if you want to die, you should be able to die. I don't care if you're healthy and young and blah blah blah. But then the question becomes, I think it was a case somewhere in Europe where someone was just really depressed, and I think they had witnessed 2 terror attacks, and they had tried to go through therapy, they tried taking medication, nothing was working, and they're like, I want to fucking die. And the government helped them do that. And that was really controversial. Should the government, and if they are going to, like, obviously, it shouldn't be the case that we can all just call our doctor and say, hey, I want to kill myself tomorrow. Can you give me a pill? No, there needs to be more to it. Very a topic that can go many places. Um, this girl could put Viagra out of business. Thank you for your commentary. Seems moral to me. Oh, you already said that. When they took her to the hospital, the complaint of the family was that she was too old to understand what that even meant, or that she wasn't in the right mind state to allow her to even consent to that. But legally, that's the contract, right? Well, yeah, if she was in the right state of mind when she signed it, then that's what we're looking at. It's the state of mind during the signing, not during the when it's actually triggered DNR. But yeah, guys, husband stayed looking good. Thank you. Yeah, Terry. That I was a child, and I remember like seeing that on the news, like her just like being like a fucking vegetable, and that I like that image is burned in my head. I'm like, why is this lady on the news all the time? Because I was like in elementary school during that. Yeah. So ethics is tough. Moral, like, it's almost like religious people have like, even them, I think for some of, even if you're really religious, I don't think you have clear answers on some of these. But sometimes it's like, wouldn't it be nice if we just had like a moral authority? But all the moral authorities they have suck. And like the morals are like not like they're like vague sometimes, and sometimes they want you to like kill people for being gay and shit. Like it's like, or you're just not allowed to be. And then it's like, which one of the like 10,000 gods do we just choose as the moral authority here? I don't think like, I think it's nice to have a moral authority to follow, but like the options we have suck so much. And at the end of the day, I think it's better to have morals that are rooted in reason as opposed to authority and yeah. As opposed, like, one of my favorite things Dawkins ever said was that he, like, when someone said objective morality or whatever, he said he doesn't want that. He wants morality that is reasoned, debated, studied, kind of intelligently designed, as opposed to just proclamations. But like I said, for devil advocate, would that be the same you were talking about in a consenting agreement, even if it's viewed as wrong or illegal, however you see it? I don't think what's legal is necessarily what's moral. So if we're going to take, I mean, I understand that your contract is invalid if, yeah, I get that. I'm not talking about legally, but should it be? I mean, what I do is illegal in some countries. That doesn't mean it's wrong. I think the more interesting question is, if someone is consenting to something that no one in their right mind could consent to, does that mean that they are not in their right mind by default and therefore they can't consent? Do you know what I mean? There are certain things that happen that are so diametrically opposed to our foundational pillars of a human being and the way we evolved, that you almost just automatically think, okay, that person's brain is not wired the way it's not normal. It's not a normal functioning brain. I think infanticide is one of these. Where is that what it's called? Is it called infanticide when you kill your own kid? Or is that killing someone else's kid? What is it called? Filicide. Or is filicide when you kill your parent? Okay, whatever. Really fun stuff here. But to me, that's one of those things that when a mother like kills her children, like, some people are like, what an evil villain, what a, and I get where that comes from, but to me, it's almost like her brain isn't like our brains. You know, we're thinking like, I would never kill my child and I would have to be super evil to kill my child. Well, yeah, because that's the normal way to view your child. In fact, you would die for your child. That's the way you've been evolved. So when you see someone who is so deviated, like so far removed from, or the behavior they're engaging in is so removed from the realm of how normal people are, that you almost think that person is not in their right mind by default. It's that's how I think sometimes. And then if you want to get really deep with it, if you go into my free will stuff, then it's like, is anyone really, I mean, you could argue people are evil, but does anyone choose to be evil? Does anyone choose those desires? Does anyone choose to be a pedophile? Does anyone, there is the whole, you can't control your actions, but you can control your behavior. I mean, you can't control your thoughts, but you can control your actions. But if all actions are dictated by your thoughts, are you morally superior for not having the thought in the first place? I feel like refusing to have anything done for you medically is the equivalent to not acting. It's like opposite of a good Samaritan situation. You can, but aren't obligated to. Yeah. I mean, hell, even police aren't obligated to do anything, but it's morally reprehensible if they don't, but legally it's not wrong. Are they? I think, well, yeah, right. What is it called? I only remember it in torts, and obviously it was in crim. You obviously, like, if you see someone drowning, you don't have to help them, but unless you put them there. But I think if you start to help, you can't leave them worse off. Is that, maybe I'm getting the doctrine mixed up with something else. And obviously, if you have a duty of care, then a duty of care means you do have to help. And I almost want to argue that police officers have that, but maybe if they were not, like, if they're just off duty and they see somebody drowning, then yeah, I don't think they're required. I don't know. I'm probably getting all this mixed up from law school. Infanticide is killing a baby. What is it filicide when you kill your kid, or is it so what is the one where there's one where you kill your parent and then there's one where you kill your kid? And now I'm really curious. Yeah, filicide is when you kill your own child. Infanticide, yeah, is when you just kill an infant. Word for killing parent. I don't, guys, is there any other buzzword we should throw into this stream? We've talked about rape, incest, child porn, pedophilia, infanticide. Oh, I guess it's parricide. Anything else, guys? Clearly, we're open to anything today. I love how we just keep accelerating into increasingly controversial. Oh, moderator just asked if I'm still live. Yes. Yeah, we're going for it, guys. Anything on freezy dried Skittle? Is that some type of reference? I don't even know. As a medical professional, I'm supposed to be obligated to help someone if they need medical aid, supposedly, LOL. So are you like, if somebody, I've heard that, like if somebody is passed out, you have to give them CPR, right? You're like, are you mandatory? Would that even be called? Like, I don't know. Thank you. Yeah, I wish Starwoom was here because this discussion was brought on by I think it was D Hizzle, who wasn't able to make it tonight either. It was brought on, or it was brought about by her, I think, discussing with D Hizzle. And her point was that, well, I don't think sex workers are to blame for any of the kinks or fetishes or desires of their clients. And I thought that was like, oh, this is a really interesting topic because I've definitely struggled with like some of the kinks some kinks people have. I just am like, I'm not doing that because it's like I will never poop or pee. Like I can't, like I'm just grossed out by it. I'm not shaming, but that's not one where, you're like, is this a moral, like, unless you're like, super religious and you just think all of it's a fucking moral issue. Yes, my boobs are completely out of this. I'm CPR circ. Next topic, prostitution. I think prostitution is like, at this point, is a holy topic compared to the stuff we were talking about. I'm CPR certified and technically I should have the obligation to help. Okay, so if you're CPR certified, are you required to give anybody who needs CPR? Like, what if you're driving and you see, like, are you required to pull over? I don't think so. I'm supposed to step in and give medical aid to the ability I can, but because I have certificates saying I'm medical, I can't get in trouble for someone if they get hurt, whereas you could get sued if you hurt someone by helping them. Oh yeah, I forgot what that's called. King of the Hunt. Aren't you a 2L? This should be at the forefront of your brain, and then you take the bar and then you never remember again. I am over 2 years out now from my bar exam, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. Infamy the Gamer, hey. We're 20 minutes away from the fun live. And next week, I am bringing in live another girl that lives in my area that does OnlyFans. So that'll be fun. I am also doing a debate on Thursday with, oh god, this might be the cringiest from what I've seen, the cringiest person on the internet. But we had a couple fans that wanted to see us go at it. I didn't really want to do it. So people were like, oh, you should like reach out. And I was like, I don't care. But then he ended up reaching out to me and he has some questions he wants to ask me. And I'm actually interested in answering those questions. I think they're good questions. So that will be Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific. He's going to be streaming it live, I think on his YouTube channel or something. I'll give you guys the details when I know. But that is something that if you're interested in seeing, it's been about a month since I got into a live debate. Also, if you're not subscribed to my YouTube, there should have been a YouTube video going out today. I am getting a new team. My team sucks. I'm sorry. They just fucking suck. But I met somebody that has grown a lot of YouTube channels, knows production, and is in the area, so can set up my space for me. And then you guys will be seeing. I'm going to do one YouTube video a week. So there's one I already filmed that should have been come out today that didn't. And then I filmed one yesterday. I actually did a reaction to Candace Owens's whatever appearance because I was supposed to be on it. And that will be the next video coming out. The one I do next will be probably reacting to my own appearance on Fresh and Fit or reading the Fresh and Fit comments. Also, let me know if there is any types of videos that you guys want to see from me. 3L now, actually. I actually got offered a scholarship to Duke in my last year, which is BS because why all late? Ooh, congrats. Well, you know, it depends if what you want to do after, but if you want to go into certain types of jobs, the school you graduate from is kind of what matters, I heard. Ooh. What did Hazardston say? Oh, barbecue sauce. Barbecue pineapple pizza. Okay, let's not go there. We have TOS we have to abide by. Let's see. Yeah, so the person, my moderator asked the person I'm doing the debate with, her name's Naomi. I think that's what she goes by online. Yeah, her name's Naomi. I had lunch with her on Friday and she seemed really cool. I don't know much else beyond that. She reached out to me after I did Soft White Underbelly and she said that she was pre-med and then she was in the tech industry for a couple of years and decided to do OnlyFans. So she's like, your story really resonated with me because I felt like I was like watching myself. And I was like, that's really cool. I love connecting with like other like-minded women in the industry. And then she's like, oh yeah, you know, it'd be cool if we ever met. I live so-and-so. And I'm like, oh my God, I live there too. And so that is how that came about. Isn't it funny when Candace Owens was on, I was like, they literally asked me and then I said yes. And then they were like, well, they didn't even say anything back after that. I was like, why did you fucking ask me then? Yeah, but they aren't giving me enough to give me a scholarship to cover Duke. Oh. And I don't know where you live, but would you join Fresh and Fit or do you think they're too bad against women? I was on Fresh and Fit. I was on Fresh and Fit like 2 months ago. I do plan on going to Miami first week of October and I am gonna message them like, hey, you guys want me back on? But I don't know if they do. I'm gonna be streaming with Lana. I might do another podcast and I am hoping to connect with Destiny while I'm there and stream with him. I'm gonna try to find something we disagree on so I can debate him, but I haven't found anything quite yet. If you guys watch him and you see something you're like, I don't know if you'd agree with this, send it to me. The guy I'm debating with later this week. His name is, you guys, he's really bad. Speaking of Destiny, the only thing I've ever seen of this guy is a debate. I don't even know if you can call it that with Destiny. It is called The Saint and the Sinner. He's another red pill. Teach business and relationships. I teach you how to master money and women. So yeah, guys, this is what we're up against. How to know if a woman likes you is the first video that pops up here. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this guy, but I am pretty much willing to talk to anyone who actually wants to have me answer questions like, what do I think about the morals of OnlyFans, as long as you don't get gross and try to like, because I would even do that with other, like, I know the philosophy guy was, but I am willing to have a conversation with anyone who wants to have a conversation about the topic. Obviously, I can't like randomly bring on fans who want to stream with me because they're going to be like jerking off. But if you're not like sexual or flirtatious and you are actually just trying to talk about a topic, as long as you have like somewhat of an ability to do that or you have a big platform, I am willing to do it. To be honest, being on a stream with Jazz would be fun. Oh yeah, that's another thing I want to do. I want to do a stream with you guys. Like I want to have us all be on the stream, especially some of my Discord crew. I think let's plan for that one maybe the week after next week. Do you think most people you debate against debate in bad faith? I haven't debated with that many people. So I did whatever the first time and I didn't really like okay, so Brian, I don't know if I think Brian does believe the stuff he says, but maybe he's become more radicalized or likes to express some of the more his more radical ideas, but he just repeats the same thing. But I don't think he's just pretending to believe those things. The second time I was on, Lauren Chen was who I was, and I don't think she debates in bad faith at all. And I do think she believes what she says. Fresh and Fit, I do think they actually think those things. Like I think they are actually crazy. Strangely enough, I would want to be on a Twitch stream with Jazz equally as much as I would want to be on the spicy one. Ooh, all right, King of the Hunt, you are more than welcome. That would be awesome. I would definitely be down for being on a stream. Okay, maybe the week after next week. Whoever is down, we could have we could get on and you guys could show me your faces if you want to. If you don't have to. But if you're gonna anyone other than my Discord group who wants to come on, you have to show your face. So the philosopher guy was interested in that, so he was able to be on. My Discord group doesn't, but I think one way to eliminate trolls who want to like come and debate me is by making sure that they show their face. The fame got to Brian's head for sure. Yeah, Brian's a weird guy. And he's one of those guys that I don't know, like he's not entertaining. I think his podcast became entertaining to some. I don't particularly find it entertaining. If I was not doing this job, I would never watch it. I'd maybe see a clip of it somewhere because the clips sometimes go viral, but I would never like sit there, especially live and like on a Monday or Tuesday at 6 p.m. Out of all the kind of media I could consume, all the books I could be reading, all the friends I could be talking to, being like, you know what I want to do? I want to sit here and listen to this for 5 hours. That would never happen. But I think he had an interesting concept by bringing on people with such opposing views and talking about dating and relationships. But him as a host, I don't find him particularly interesting. And I don't find his commentary particularly riveting. I think he has talking points that he has for doing this for so long. And yeah, now Fresh and Fit, same thing with Myron, but Myron at least like the back and forth sometimes he can do. He's quicker, I think, than Brian, and he's able to. And I think that's what makes him seem like he's right sometimes when he's not right. It's not because he's actually right, but because he's good rhetorically sometimes. His co-host Fresh, I don't think he is cognitively even subpar. I don't. And he's been doing this for so long now that I don't understand how you don't even like you're not even able to argue points that you like you should have down by this point. By the way, Jazz, it may be fun too at some point to have the channel points be used in stream at some point. What does that mean? Like for them to unlock different things. Oh, I do not know. Like I do not know much about streamer world yet. Like, is that something people do? Hey, Jasmine, it's the bike charity guy. Oh my God, this bike charity guy has been harassing me to donate to his charity. And maybe I would, but like I'm so busy that like you guys cannot depend on me to open your DMs and to look at your shit. I am sorry. I'm just it was a good stream, everyone. I won't be going to the spicy stream, but this was really interesting. Have a good night, everyone. We were great to talk to you too. Jasmine knows. Palm tree killer later. Sorry I'm late. Phone died when I took a nap. No worries, but I think we're pretty much done. We have 10 minutes before the live. But yeah, that'll be on Thursday. Fresh's lights are on, but no one's home. There was one time in my episode where I was like, well, the people that are having sex, like if you look at it, it's not that short guys are having less sex than tall guys, and fat guys or people that are overweight are actually in some studies having more sex, and poor people are having sex. So seems like you don't really need to be alpha to have sex. And me and Myron are going back and forth on this. And then Fresh comes in and he's like, well, I also think that those people that are fat and poor that are having sex, like, want to have sex. Like, they're initiating it. I'm like, yeah, thank you. I don't think he realized he made my point for me. Thanks for the discussion. It was a lot to think about. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, this one is not one that like you come out and you're like, figured it all out. If you felt that way, I would have some questions. It's one where you're like, oh, this stuff is really difficult, and we have our natural base instincts, our moral intuitions, and then we have our, like, even, it's not even something that we can be able to parse out with just reason and logic, because so much of it we don't know. We don't know what the consequences of some of this is going to be. We don't know. It's a topic that's so important, but yes, it's so, something, harm happening to one child in this way affects that child for the rest of their lives. And so as a society, I think it's totally right that we be doing everything that we possibly can to prevent that harm towards children. But some of the ways that we purport to do that, I don't think are necessarily even like stigmatizing people who, people are going to have the desire. Around 5%, it seems, of grown men have this desire, maybe a little less. And that isn't going to change because it seems to be a prenatal thing. That some doctors are calling it a sexual orientation. So in that sense, it's like, okay, just demonizing the action and the behavior should 100% be upheld. But what can we actually do with this 5% of people? What should we do with them is kind of the question. Damn, sounds like I missed a good episode too. Can't wait to watch it in full. Well, of course, it's going to be available after the fact. Howdy, late again. Y'all are late, okay? We're about to get off. It's 8 minutes till the stream. Yeah, you guys can watch the previous streams on YouTube. And I'm going to get the little sign once I have the equipment, and we're going to get the sign. It's not going to be here. It's going to be in a whole room dedicated to this. And it's going to be on all my YouTube videos too. I'm trying to still decide, because I want to do YouTube videos, but I also want to do podcast episodes. I call this podcasting, but like, I don't consider this really, I call this like just streaming. Like, I stream for an hour and a half a week as opposed to a podcast, but I guess you could call it one. So I'm still trying to figure out, okay, do I want to do, I like doing these and then do one YouTube video a week. And then obviously do my reels and my Instagram and my Reddit and my OnlyFans videos. Like, it's a lot of work too. Like, at this point, one YouTube video a week, one Twitch stream a week. Both of those require some prep. And then I drop a video on my OnlyFans full length every other day. I post 1 to 2 times a day, post on Reddit every other day, post a reel to Instagram every day, a reel to TikTok every day, Twitter, have a Snapchat. Podcasting is more a discussion, isn't it? Is it? Is podcasting even always live? Like, I feel like some people just pre-record them. Hi, Jasmine. What do you think about hot wife / cuckoldry? See, this is a fetish that I don't think produces harm. Like, I don't think it's one people associate with a moral wrong or harm, unless you're like someone who thinks all of this is like a perversion and sex is between man and a woman and procreation. Like, unless you're one of those people, I don't think that one is one that's as morally contentious. It's a lot of work, Sheesh. I know. I do have help. One of the people that helped me is our wonderful moderator, who in Discord is known as Spider Flu. Does your PBB content have sex? Yes. I do be having sex on the net. I'm about to go live there. Oh, and that's another thing. Go live once a week too. And then I put out the live after, which I'll be doing tonight. But okay, so if you want to join me there, go for it. We will be starting in about 6 minutes. I can finally, because like my boobs are out of the shirt, and we're gonna have some sexy time. So yep, check out my beacon, jasminejafar.me. Y'all know the link if you're there for that. And otherwise, make sure you follow me on Instagram if you're not following me on Snapchat or OnlyFans, because that is the other place it's the only free place that I post updates and news and stuff on what I'm doing. All right, bye. Mwah.